Hi, I'm Jen, and I'm an NDIS participant. The review is focusing on fairness, the idea of having a consistent funding level across the scheme for like. Find that very offensive. I think that somebody else grouping us into a group and saying, yes, you guys all are similar and you have similar support needs, I personally think that is unnecessary. I think that NDIS needs to allow for greatness and error. Currently, there's threats of threats to take away rights of agency and autonomy should there be misuse of funding or requiring them to go with registered providers. So, what is support to you? If you're disabled, I think it means something different than if you're part of a community. Being part of a community, having support tends to mean that, like, when you're doing something and you need resources, that they are facilitated to be flowing into your direction. That's the role of the NDIA, is to support us in that way. But that's not, the funding's not support. Meanwhile, they're still just as adversarial as ever, just as hostile, just as arbitrary. And so I felt like, okay, so I have all of this potential that makes quality services available for participants. What doesn't do that is using this assessment or back-end data or, having the AB and having the transaction. We're having all these things that that you can build a picture of what we're doing. You don't need that. And it is actually really fucked up if you think about it, because we're not talking about the agency having access to our funding expenditure, really, are we? We're talking about individual agents who are incentivized in different ways to do various things with respect to how we guide this person through the various potentials for funding and support in that community way. Before I was on the NDIS, and that's when I learned when I had to face how disabled I was. I couldn't really pretend like I could do things, but just wasn't doing them. And it was terrifying. That didn't seem healthy to me. So, and I knew I did not want to go back. What I did was I set out to heal and to figure out how I can secure myself so that I can be their mother again. So she's like, this is actual, real bad. You have to leave it alone. I'm like, but I have a baby. New baby. Anyway, they kind of really sort of taking her from me, and that wasn't going to do. And I just was so alone, injured. I had lost a lot of blood when I gave my birth to my daughter, and that's the irony, because when I'm well supported, it's not as bad. You can't see it, you can if you look, right? But a lot of people have trouble with me because they're like, you just don't seem really disabled, and they don't say that, but they kind of make it clear that that's it's being entertained in their head or something. There's too much room for it for my comfort, because that's a pretty dangerous question to be questioning somebody. And I mean, I have severe needs. They eventually see it. But I used to get really desperate, it fall harder when they withdrew their support on the basis that I was succeeding. I did so well the second plan. I was on the trial, and I left a situation of domestic violence and extreme isolation and extreme psychological abuse and physical too. It was, yeah. It's easy to cause me a great deal of physical pain and not be doing anything wrong by other people's point of view. That makes my life really pretty difficult if anyone doesn't like me. A lot of people don't. That's okay. I don't really understand that, but yeah. I don't think I could be a politician, for example, because I think that even when the people that don't like me, like even when they're just like on the fence or whatever, I don't mean to, I tend to invite people to reject upon me. It took me a long time to learn that's what was happening. I used to be so confused. I'm like, how can I be this and this? Like, it would be like, you're a genius and you're intellectually disabled, just like depending upon who was doing whatever assessment on that whatever day. Or like, you are shy or you are impulsive. And so these paradoxes of how my disorder like made me have to deal with things in a little bit different way made it so I've accumulated quite a lot of experience with when and why someone will shift to the position posture that I consider Breaking Bad. It's a unilateral decision to shift the power dynamic and a support relationship due to any number of reasons. But as I said, when I go downhill quick, my support is very, very strained. I mean, awkward, right? Like, you're not doing well, and like they've been sort of slacking because they didn't see, and then they see, and they have no fucking idea of what to do because they weren't really listening to you when you told them what to do or what was your issues, because they thought you were just making shit up or being dramatic or hypochondriac or something. The funny thing is about that, like, I don't want to go to the doctor. I need to sometimes, and I wish I had better access. Just being some people really love me in ways that's too much too. I mean, I'm like definitely not saying that no one likes me. It's just that I don't seem to live up to whatever anyone thinks I am. When it gets harder, and I've had to go through that quite a lot. And then somehow muster the courage to remember that I am who I am, and if I could figure out how to get the extra courage to re-engage, that I probably, and I have to do that now, I'm having to do that again. I was feeling a little bit more of a swagger for a minute, like I'm recruiting. I've gotten pretty good at it. It's not actually the problem. It's that I am really sensitive to bigotry of even the most subtle, that people be like, that you can't count that. I can. For me, yeah, I'm not putting anybody in jail or anything. I'm just saying that, yeah, no, I can absolutely count, for example, people telling me that I need to be realistic, that I'm not going to be able to find people who understand that I'm the employer. I understand that there are people who aren't going to find it easy or straightforward, but it's not that hard. And that's not what he was saying, is it? I just written my submission to the NDIS review. It was almost done. I think it was done. I sent it to him and I said, read this, and if you still want the job, then hit me back. Because it was orthogonal to what the kind of approach he was taking, this and that. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? I really didn't understand how this person presumed that he was going to be running the show. Some people would like that, and that's great, but you can't you really can't presume that one. You need to ask if that's the appropriate approach, right? If you're a support worker, like, you need to be able to move like through those roles too. Like, it was Sue Shin that told me about how support can be like delivered out front. And like, this is very relevant for me because I often use people walking in front of me purposefully as a mirror to help me be able to walk. I need it critically in the navigation and everything, but like, so they're leading, but not like, I'll tell them where I want to go and then they lead me, so they're out front. Or they might make a phone call, but they're being directed by me, they're out front. Or there's support that's by the side, and that's like, we're doing something together, and like, if my hands stop working, I can be like, hey, can you do that? Or if I start having an attack of fatigue, I can stay and kind of give. I don't usually go have a rest, because that's how it works better. I can get back to work. I do a lot of different things. I'm a very productive person. Not very consistent about what it is I'm doing, but I finish things. That's why I do so many different kinds of things. It's because I just figure out what I can do. When I can't do something I want to do, I figure out something else I can do. And the NDIS, though, its influence on me has been to take the situation where I was doing deep work in trauma therapy to recover me, to find freedom. Freedom isn't the right word. To try to find a place where I could be authentic. I wasn't just in denial, I was being gaslit. I got really fucked, my mind really got messed up. And so, but I had a really good therapist. I happened upon somebody who we hit it off. He really pushed me, and I learned best in accelerated spaces for certain things, and this was one of them. And he did it. And some people were like questioning, like the art therapist was questioning how fast he was pushing me, how hard he was pushing me, because it was a big deal. I was like, this isn't sustainable, you know. He's like, I know, we're just gonna go ahead and get through this. But it's true, I did. So I wasn't feeling my feelings, and guess what? Curing my somatization doesn't cure my neurological disorder, like everybody promised me. It's frustrating. I ordered to have some dinner, and it didn't have any support, and it was out on the fucking chair, not that far away from me. I mean, I normally can get it up. I was out there for like 2 hours while my job was to get it. That's disability, right? Without support. But it's not just that, like, all that experience for me, it requires a lot of clarity without having access to it. And yet you find it. So it hurts at first, at least I've been told other people experience similarly when you have self-compassion. And for me, I was having compassion for my spine, the pain. And it definitely was holding on to a lot of memories of abuse, right? Like in accidents I'd had. I mean, accidents too. Like I used to go hiking a lot and stuff, and like didn't know I had loosey-goosey joints, and yeah, it sucked. I danced a lot. I never had an accident. Never. I dance pretty hard. I don't understand. I can't tell you why that works. Like, I can't. So, if you're watching this and you ever see me out and I am dancing or moving really smoothly, like, just don't comment on it, okay? Please, please don't comment about it. Because I'm probably not thinking about it. I'm just probably enjoying it. And if I think about it, it's like it falls away and I just go back into having to manage and not just being able to move with this interruption. And it's like a set, I have like apparently a set of neurological disorders at this point, and physical and trauma. So yeah, I got treatment. I had a great therapist. Had profound just epiphanies, like shame. I was like, I don't feel shame. This is not to anybody specifically. I was just like, what is this feeling I'm feeling? Like, because I was trying to feel my feelings. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm like, I feel like I've been poisoned. Like, it's just really, what is this? What is this? I was asking the nurse, and they're like, I don't fucking know. I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, and I was just like, oh, it's really intense. Like, I just had all of this. It was really intense and scary, and like I couldn't handle it. And it definitely had a story to tell of me being, unable to take myself to the toilet and having people laughing outside my house. And they were my family. They were fun with my children, and I was that bad off. And like for one point, nobody did talk to me for over 2 weeks, and they all insisted that wasn't true, and I was just like, "You didn't, did you?" And like, "You didn't, did you?" And you didn't. Like, you ought to convince each other that somebody was doing it. After the first 5 days, I decided to fuck you guys. I'm going to heal me. I'm going to figure out how to make this work, and I did. I fucking did. I ended up in the hospital, but I managed to get in a very good one. And then, as I was getting treatment, I could no longer tolerate how because I could see everything. It's not everything, but like everything. I was so fucking, I used to think there's no way I could go into denial or shame. Isn't that funny? I bet some of you do too. You can't consider everything. And things that are outside your control and outside of your accepted values, and that you want, like, so, like a person or a life that you've built, but they don't share your values. And when that comes up in incompatibility, like I can remember I have a lot more integration now, but like I would plead. I hate that. I beg for help. Then I get help, but it would hurt me. And that's how I feel. Okay, so I say all of this because when I joined with the NDIS, I read everything that was on the webpage and in the news. I read everything. Because I understand that certain access to disability support schemes across the world can be disabling. And I didn't want to do that to myself. But for one, this was brand new. It was so it was perfect from my point of view as an economist too. It's like it was right up my alley. Not like just like socialism or communism versus capitalism. It's like, yes, we have this large society. We have network effects. We need to truly be bold enough to allow people who are different. Like, I'm pretty freaking different. I've definitely raised some eyebrows from time to time, even when I'm just being like symptomatic or whatever. I didn't go, and I really didn't let anybody see me for a long time. I was just like, my only goal is to stay in this room the whole time. I don't have to do anything I'm meant to be doing. If they tell me to do something, I don't have to do it. I just have to stay in this room for the whole time. And I had a pretty good time because I was totally masking all of my symptoms. I could see, like, I have the ability to control my heartbeat, my blood pressure. I doubt that's what it is, but maybe, because that's like the only thing that's changed really for me. I think also because, like, I am really having a tough time. Like, and I'm going through a lot. But look, I kind of look great, right? I mean, not completely, but like, I just did a bunch of self-care tonight that I haven't done in over a year. I mean, I haven't been able to take care of myself even in the slightest way over a year. I don't know why. I've been trying. Whenever I try, I just like fall over. I'm guessing there's some understandable thing about it. I was lonely. I reached out for support about it. And I got treated like I should be in a group home. And I have no one except for my children. That scares me. When people just toss out flippant things like that. I've been here for over 20 years. But like, I didn't understand that these things were possible. But here's the thing. Let me tell you something. As somebody who was a conservative American, relatively, with probably like not the same, the people who used to call me hippie, Jen, and I wasn't a hippie. I was into industrial music and everything, but I was raised by one. I do tend towards being a pacifist more than authoritarian approaches towards solving problems, and who gets to decide what's a problem. I feel like, that's a good question, and that's the question we're asking right now, isn't it, of the scheme? Whose job is it to solve a problem? Yeah, I don't know. I just sometimes have a little bit of difficulty with finding the right people who can understand that I do know what I want. I just need you to do it. Like, and also, things will emerge and you need to be prepared and, like, available to me. Because I do just lose function in various ways, but I have hurt myself a little bit, and that's like, that accident, that hiking accident. I had no idea I had a neurological disorder at that point. I knew I had something, because like people were always like, why can't you? Because I would like just not be able to walk all of a sudden, and it was like I sprained my ankles or something. I don't know. I was just like, I don't know. I guess it's just a pain. And then we get to the club, and I would be like, just like, doing footwork and everything, and like loving it, and just like, I wish I was in Melbourne, because I would really love to be able to have access to dancing. Anyway, dancing would be the best thing for me right now. But for someone to ask me, like, why can you dance but you can't walk? I'm like, I don't know, but it's interesting because I understand the implication of questions like that, like as if I'm faking. But it's funny because it's really probably one of the easiest questions that I've ever been asked, because I just don't know. I was in deep denial of my disability. I try to make it look cool. I still do. Like right now, I'm holding my hands like that because, like, you know, it's just how I'm managing them. And I get like where they won't move, so I like support the other one. I make it like, ooh. They both can move right now, but like, ooh. So a lot of times and I don't really mean to mislead people. I just want to be beautiful in my way, in the way that I am. And for a while there, it's like I didn't have access to any of being me. My body had just like decided it wasn't going to in any way be friendly with me. And able to like give it, and like I was being so fucking smooth, like in the making my points. It's like I was back, and then bam, can't do it anymore. Cause like, and you know, I don't remember if there was an interrupt. Isn't that funny? I'm starting to get a little bit of it right there, remembering it. Anyway, it's like being put through a meat grinder. Yeah. So when support is sensitive to those things, doesn't react too much to my symptoms, and understands without punishment or relief. Oh, you seem to be doing so much better now. Great. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna go away though, you know that, right? Like, and I don't mean to be an asshole. It's not negative thinking. I just have to remember, because I still do sometimes, but I get so devastated. Meanwhile, I have to figure out how to like get my kids to maintain a respectful attitude. And they're like, I just had my kid yell at me the other day, like, well, you know, you leave things out there like that. Why is it that I have to do all this? And I was just like, tears just started pouring down my face, because I'm not meaning to emotionally manipulate him, but I just had clearly, no, I knew yeah, that was the worry. Because it means that he hadn't recognized that my disability is real, and that and like, as if they just learned from, I believe, the other side of the family, that like it's something to be hushed about or like whatever. And I was outnumbered. I am outnumbered. This is like, this isn't just this is still, I have been having to go through a great deal. I don't know how I'm doing it. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that I have to go through has nothing to do with NDIS. Just my disability per se. But the NDIS was meant to, like I said, I read everything. It was meant to, they even said things like, I wish I had screen captures of it from then, but it said things like, you will not have to continually prove your disability. What the fuck? That's what I've been told every single fucking plan, that I have to like do that. Like, and then the one plan where I really had been using my supports well, I was like so fucking top tier. Like, if it not, it was saying like I was doing well. I was in 3 projects, and like they were very dynamic, and my kids were thriving, and I was starting to thrive, and they took it all away. And then they gave it back. The money. They couldn't have the supports anymore. They're just gone. Support can be out front, on the side, or behind. Support from behind is really tricky. In a way, it's like kind of the more controlling. Properly done, it's the least controlling. It's like, or at least not inclusive, but so like, for example, if I go to an event, I oftentimes will tell my support worker that I would like them to go in, scout me a seat or spot, and then like come and get me and bring me there. And the reason, I mean, maybe that sounds like a prima donna kind of thing to do. I really can't. I not only can't navigate, I get extremely anxious about trying to pick a seat in a situation like that these days. I can do it when I'm standing. I can't do it from a chair very well yet. Like, I don't like it. Sometimes I don't like it, the way that people are like, oh, how about you go here? How about you go here? I just wanted that to be decided. I have had some good workers. I haven't had very many bad, and the ones that were really bad weren't that bad. My workers' experience has been, well, I did have one lady who was like, those of you who are around my age might remember a movie called Single White Female. That was fucked up. She was like, she started dressing like me to the extent that my daughter, who was 2.5, was like, you're dressed like mommy. Like, from the mouths of babes. It was weirding me out. Then she made dinner and she served everybody. I had people visiting, and she served everybody, not me. Very obviously, from my point of view, like, she was the one who was head of house. It was really weird. And like, what was the other one? Oh, my kid had scraped themselves, and I am unable to get to them very fast, and she's in my fucking way. And I'm like, and I mean, she was in my way. She was like, I got it. I'm like, no. I really did. I said it loud too. Like, yelling after her to come to me inside because I couldn't get outside to her. That's so sad, isn't it? I'm just like, and she fucking puts her arms out for her. And I'm like, it was, no, I want my mommy. I'm like, damn fucking straight. Like, it was weird. And I should end up going pretty shortly after that. Oh, that scares me. Stuff like that scares me. So I've had to learn to make the best use of my supports under. Okay, so remember, I left the house where I had spent 20 years in mostly extreme isolation with this family who were very abusive to me. Yeah, I lost track. What was I talking about? I was thinking about Brandon Beach for some reason. Talking about support, consistency, and the attitudes in the sector. I don't know if this is exactly what I was talking about, but I want to. Don't say my hands are tied, ever, to a disabled person who's coming to you for support. Or as if you're a facilitator or a navigator, policymaker. Don't tie your hands as if that gives you the lived experience to be able to, no, I mean, I don't even know, I'm just saying, no, but if somebody comes to you and they're like, this is wrong, this is how it should have been, like, oh, I don't know, I'm sorry, my hands are tied, I really have no power. There's a lot of the scheme that I believe probably even inside operations probably have that too, like, you know, it's just clear, it's a very specifically designed system for rorting, but not rorting like the people with disabilities, or even there is some provider rorting, but more than that, the scheme was built in a way that allowed certain people to funnel money to themselves and their mates. That independent assessment gig was just like another real, like, consolidation attempt. And so that is a main reason why I had a problem with it because I knew we were meant to be fixing that, not making it worse, right? Well, this review is kind of doing it too, where it's making it worse, potentially. We need to have more experiences where people without disabilities have the experience of having to deal with people with disabilities in the community. And that knowledge will reduce the price of supports. I mean, come on, it's just not rocket science. As is, we're having to spend so much of our time fighting that we need quite a bit, at least for me. Like, it's not just like that simple, but like I've been a bit hobbled by the NDIS. But to put it frankly, the hysteresis that is like built into the system, where it's like, oh, you're doing well, we're taking your money away. Oh, you're doing a crisis of that. Oh, now that put you in a crisis. Okay, we'll restore your funding. Like, what the fuck? It's like just gonna keep me entrenched, not just me, but everyone entrenched. So that can't happen, right? So if we're going to reform this, we can't keep making a situation where there's so much. And I see when you guys talk about consistency, can we say non-arbitrary? Because consistency sounds too much like you're trying to make a typical support package. And somebody said, like, I think you guys are all saying it, like, when we have somebody with the same support needs in the similar situation, they should have the same funding. I disagree with you. I think maybe, like, there shouldn't be one of them that's trading up better than the other. That's for sure. Especially not for like systemic racism or ableism issues or, whatever. But people with disabilities don't have the same support needs. Nobody does. I don't have the same support needs as anybody else. I have similar to some. I can learn from people. But still, it's my way. And I'm okay. I think I was telling you guys how I'm different. Well, the only reason why I'm saying that is because I've been told that my whole life. And what that means, like I said, people project on me, so it's hard to know exactly. I have a very strong sense of what respect is all about. I've done a lot of work in harm reduction. I've had to. Sorry, I'm frozen. See how I can kind of like. I can kind of like start other parts moving. Sometimes I kind of. Yeah, that way. It's still happening, but I'm still holding it off. Okay, so like. What was I talking about? So yeah, that's the other thing, is because I lose my. Just like it. In that way, but I just really love the moot court and like the learning about smart receivers and everything, and seeing as the people that are making these laws and interpreting these laws are learning. That was so cool. I met so many people there. You're talking about networking, like. But then I moved to Australia, and without any reason except for I was in love, and the guy lived in here. And yeah, that, I guess, like, so I didn't have that support, and I didn't know I needed it, and so I was struggling quite a lot in ways I didn't understand, and that had an impact on my relationship in a way that I became understood as a person with needs that needed to be managed begrudgingly. That was a huge source of trauma for me. Getting good, support. So yeah, at New College I was well supported as well. That's something I've thought about a lot. It was just all very organic for me. Like, I had people would stop by my room and help just clean it. Like, apparently, I don't never really. I did have some shame about it, but like, I guess people just could tell I needed it. I don't know. At that time, when I had that second accident, I knew I was fucked. That's the first, just the feeling that I got. Not, I got hurt, but I was hurt in a way that was disabling. And that meant I was fucked. And I hadn't realized that to that extent. And that was a terrifying time. I ended up going back, well, I ended up getting beat. And then I went back to Florida. Remembered what it's like to be supported by my people. And then ended up coming back here. I was going to go study designing and making of furniture down at Dwelling Up, which I did. And that's when I learned I was in denial of my disability. It's interesting because I did know that I had accidents, and I did know that I'd been sick my entire life in a lot of ways. That I learned to mask. I have been diagnosed with neurological disorders back. I don't have all of the knowledge of it, but I remember them saying some of them, because I don't like to be labeled not things. So, it's so funny I have such a different point of view than the people I'm working with in this. Sometimes, I know how little it costs to support me when people weren't fucking with me. You see? Yeah, that's my point. Is that everyone's going on and on about fairness, and I want people say it to me. The only reason why that would be powerful in this context is to say that there are people who are not getting their needs met. But instead, we're focusing on people who can articulate, and I am oftentimes identified as that. It takes a lot of time for me to do this. I used to not be able to even think about writing down what my disability is. I started seizing my shit over and over and over again because they wanted me to document my functional capacity, personal statement, everything. I've had assessments where they're like, we gotta stop this right now because my blood pressure was going through the roof. I just don't cope very well with being pathologized. It doesn't feel like I'm being healed or treated to help me, and because it isn't. I hate it. And so yeah, when you propose reforms that don't understand, it's not just me that has. I just have a very strong point of view in terms of I remember when the independent assessments came out, there were not that many people were kind of talking against it, but I'm like, fuck no, we can't do this, you can't. And I was because I also knew there's a lot of people who are going to be in a similar position that wouldn't be able to be saying it because that were more at risk than me. Of that, becoming targeted. I never really feared being targeted in that way, because I wasn't wrong. It's been hard having skills in a system that treats you like you're worthless when they could stand to be informed by them. I've been in a difficult position from my point of view because I would people talk about getting back into work. I would love to be able to practice my skill set. I'm a gifted economist. I do a really, so I do kind of want to be this, I want to be co-CEO of the NDIS with somebody really badass that is a really good at people. Because I piss half of them off. But even if it was just consulting, and I mean, I don't mean kind of co-design, because like that didn't, I did that, that didn't, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I used to get paid as a consultant. It's hard being a disabled person in Australia and then still getting the money for the shit that people hear, my advice. I don't do it as thoroughly, of course, and everything, but like, if registered providers, you know, extracting from me and then withdrawing support and boot me out 4 times. That's how I left one because they sucked so bad, but they were lying to me and everything. The second one took me for a ride. I mean, they just destroyed me. They got apparently in a lot of trouble, not from me, from lots of other people. The next one just was like an ego battle between me and the person that was doing accounts. I wasn't doing an ego battle. I was trying to get the accounts right, but like, right, like you know, like you're not allowed to say they've done something wrong, or else they suddenly can't find you support. I hated that one. But what I hated even more, and I don't normally hate, I'm hoping I don't get better. But I found another provider that I thought, I mean, I was terrified, you have to understand, because I've been very, very hurt. I'm not as terrified right now to recruit, but there's a bit, you know. But like, I was so on top of it. Like, they sent out their salesperson. I'm like, oh, that sounds really great, but I'll have to sit on it. And also, I need to meet who I'm actually going to be working with, because I fell for that twice other times where I was bait and switched. But yeah, so I met him, and he seemed like a pretty good, cool dude, and we really did work well together for a while. But except for like the minute I asked, I said I need somebody older with more common sense, and he's like, well, no, you don't, because kids, you can tell them what to do easier. Anyway, it got real weird. He threw a barbecue for my supports without me. Like, when I expressed that, like, that wasn't being disrespected. I was being disrespected in my home, and I didn't know what the source was. And he threw this barbecue for all of my supports, and him, nobody else. I was told by one of the support workers. And it completely destroyed any rapport building that I was trying to do to figure out what was going on, because it was stark. It was like, wait, this is not okay. Like, so I had to like, just like, okay, I'm pausing support for a minute. We must reestablish how things are done, because people are being incredibly disrespectful to me. Yeah, and then he started to really get off on taking me for a ride. I didn't see it coming. And once I did, like, it's not like it's just that he had a grip. And I did get out, but like, I had one worker, I actually, on every single time, I at least had one worker who was like so loyal that they kind of made it so that it was shown that they couldn't make it, that I was the problem. Because I'm not, I mean, I can be, but not very often. Usually speaking, I'm a problem for some people, but I'm not a problem for people who are trying to do the job that was agreed upon. I'm pretty, yeah. So anyway, yeah, the consulting gig of the NDIA, what was I getting at? Support. nature, support. Support fairness and support effectiveness and support sufficiency and scheme sustainability. All of these things are being thrown around in a way that's improper.